You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. Open date for LSU. Brian Kelly met reporters Tuesday, was on the SEC Coaches Teleconference Wednesday. That's it for media availability for BK this week. We won't hear from him again until Monday of Ole Miss week. So Tigers going full pads as he said they would. A lot to work on. There were a couple of newsy things on Tuesday night that Brian Kelly talked about. He was peppered about Caden Durham's injury, and Brian Kelly is usually very transparent. He wasn't really in a mood to talk much about injuries on the open date.
Caden Durham, do you have any update on his injury?
Yeah, he's doing great. 100%, 1,000, million. He's doing chin-ups right now.
It happened when the lineman fell on him after the second touchdown?
Yes.
Is that what you saw?
Yes, yep. Those linemen are so agile. Yep. You're not going to get much from me on injuries this week. This is a bye week, so you may not go down that road this week.
Although the media that were there did press because you have to. I mean, you have to ask the question. He said that they do expect that the guys that are injured will be back. That would, of course, include Caden Durham. One of the guys we talked about last week, it kind of went unnoticed, y'all. West Weeks, who had missed 2 games, returned and only played 4 snaps. We mentioned this, I think, on Whiskey and Wine on the postgame show, but West Weeks went in maybe the 3rd defensive series, and after about 3 or 4 plays, took himself out of the game. So he still needs, clearly, to get ready. Chris Hilton as well. So there's that. There was one other injury note that Brian Kelly was asked about that he talked about that I actually found pretty significant news, and that was that C.J. Daniels apparently had a knee injury that gave him a bit of a scare.
He had aggravated an old knee injury, but we got good reports on it. So we were obviously concerned because he had an ACL. It was not an ACL. So, but, again, those are things that, at first you're concerned. But it turned out to be the best case scenario for us.
Best case scenario, that's great news. And you may sort of you may downplay C.J. Daniels, and I wouldn't blame you for doing it because he hasn't necessarily popped. He hasn't found the end zone yet. But C.J. Daniels, y'all, has 20 receptions on that. Caught me off guard a little bit. I didn't know it was that high. He's got 20 catches on the season already. That's 4th on the team. And look at the clump of pass catchers you have. Mason Taylor leads away with 28 receptions.
Mason Taylor!
Aaron Anderson, 27. Kyron Lacy, 25. And then you got C.J. Daniels at 20. So it's really those 4. Then you have a big drop-off till you get Xavion Thomas with 12. So the other thing that was really interesting to me when I was looking at some of the PFF stuff, C.J. Daniels, his overall PFF grade isn't great because he has 2 penalties, and PFF will really ding you for penalties. But his drop grade is an 86.3. That's the highest on the team, meaning he don't drop the ball. C.J. Daniels may not be the deep threat for Garrett Nussmeier. He certainly had explosive plays from Kyron Lacy, and Mason Taylor is the leading receiver on the team right now.
Mason Taylor!
In terms of receptions. Aaron Anderson has emerged, but you want a security blanket? I mean, C.J. Daniels on this season has been really consistent when you look at his game-by-game production. 3 against USC, 4 against Nichols, 4 against South Carolina, 6 against UCLA, 3 against South Alabama. He's been there. And when you consider the injuries you've already had, Guillory, Perkins, Emery, all lost for the season, you can't lose another veteran player. And then you think about the receiver situation with Chris Hilton being out, they've really missed that deep threat. I'm not saying Daniels is that guy, but think about the depth and what happened when Kyle Parker went in. Then Kyle Parker injured his elbow, and we saw Shelton Sampson rotate in. Point is, you got a lot of young talent at receiver. You're still developing depth there as well. So I think that's actually really significant that they apparently dodged a big injury there with C.J. Daniels. The other significant newsy piece that Brian Kelly talked about, this was on the teleconference on Wednesday. He said they're moving Javen Toviano to the star position. and then explained why they were making that decision.
And it allows us now some flexibility where, we can move Major Burns back to safety if we need some help back at the safety position, because we really believe he's really good, Toviano, closer to the ball in the line of scrimmage because he's such a sure tackler and he's assignment correct.
So sure tackler, assignment correct for Javen Toviano. I want to remind you, you heard BK say they have moved Toviano around a bunch. I went back and checked my notes from fall camp. One of the late practices in fall camp, it was one of those 11-on-11 periods where the defense kind of got the upper hand and forced a couple of turnovers. There was a play where you might remember this if you followed along through all of our fall camp reports. There was a play where Garrett Nussmeier was pressured, rolled right, and just kind of heaved one toward the sideline. Thought he was throwing it away, but P.J. Woodland made a beautiful, ranged over, made a beautiful toe tap interception on the sideline. It was Toviano at the star who brought the pressure. So they have been running Toviano at star even back in fall camp. So this isn't something new for him. But what I would say is maybe a little bit of a concern is in doing this, you heard Brian Kelly say, well, it allows him to move Major Burns back to safety. Y'all, Major Burns is a dramatically better player at star than he is at safety. He's currently the third leading tackler on your team. Because, and by the way, the highest grade that Major Burns has this season in PFF, and they grade it by coverage, box, tackling, pressure, all that sort of stuff. His highest grade is his tackling grade, Major Burns. His lowest grade is coverage. That's why we said all year, moving Major Burns to star makes a lot of sense because he's not great in coverage. This puts him at the line where he's physical and can tackle. You play him there. Well, I'm just using deductive reasoning here. If Brian Kelly's telling you we're looking at Toviano at star, so that lets us move Major Burns back to safety, he's telling you they don't like their safeties. And I'll remind you, the last 2 weeks, they've rotated 6 guys at those safety spots. It's been a big point of contention. And as a matter of fact, after the game Saturday against South Alabama, Brian Kelly talked about that safety rotation and was like, look, this can't happen anymore.
Tuesday we're going to put the guys on the field that we think can win SEC games for us. So what's that rotation look like? As we've said, and we've talked about this, we've rolled a lot of guys in there. We get to, 2 weeks from today, there's not going to be a lot of rolling. There's going to be guys that are going to be playing. So this has kind of been to try to get it on film and say, these are the guys that should be starting.
I'm curious if that means Burns is going to be starting at safety. I don't think that's the case. I think your best look is still going to be with Sage Ryan, Jordan Gilbert back at safety, or maybe if you want to play upside with Deshaun Spears, and then Burns at star. But if you have issues and you got to move Major Burns back, then you need an option at star, and it sounds like that would be Javen Toviano. I will point one more thing out to you. Toviano, he missed the opener, and then he missed the South Carolina game. Or he didn't play, I should say. He was dressed, he didn't play. He's had 21 total defensive snaps in 3 games. So Toviano has just not been on the field. Burns, 88 defensive snaps in the box, 115 in the slot, 18 attached on the defensive line, and then 31 at free safety. So 88, 115, and 18. You're talking over 200 defensive snaps at the line of scrimmage for Major Burns, 31 at free safety. They're telling you where he fits. But Brian Kelly is saying, and we might need to move him back to safety. It goes to tell you, that is just, he's telling you, it's illustrated here, it's everywhere. The biggest weakness on this defense is safety. They got to find an answer there, however that's going to look. And you better find it quickly because Ole Miss is coming in here a week from Saturday. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.